Welcome. I'm Two Turtle Tom. Welcome to the Two Turtle Tom live show. We do this every Thursday night at 8 p.m. where we talk to someone that just loves turtles and tortoises. And tonight we have Sam Schulman, the next generation. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Tom. It's a pleasure to be here.
As I told everyone just a bit earlier, we're expecting Matthew Hills at any time. He's currently in the airport in Hawaii, so he may join us. But it's just Sam and I for now. So, Sam, you recently joined the Hinge-back Club. Tell us about how that came about.
Um, so I don't think we put a post on the TTPG group yet, but I've been talking with Dawson Lawler, who is a member, as well as Matt, who hopefully should be joining us shortly. And we were talking about doing kind of like a three-way trade. It started with Dawson sent Matt a radiata or radiated tortoise, and I asked Matt if I could have that box so that I could send Dawson a pancake tortoise because I know he recently got some pancake tortoises,
Mm.
and I had one I could spare. So he ended up saying, let me send you something, and he's like, "How do
Cool.
you feel about Homiana?" And I was like, to be honest, I've had my scares. Every reptile show, big ones at least, that have them, like NERBC, for example, you could tell they're all wild caught animals and have been subjected to some really scary conditions. But he ended up just convincing me to go into it and kind of just move forward from there. I don't know if it was maybe like a test for me to to get into it because you hear all these horror stories about them, and I was really nervous about getting into it. And then during all this time, which was literally last week, I was actually in Ohio testing for I did 5 or 6 pesticide exams. So I'm expecting this tortoise to come the day after I get home, and I got to get everything set up. So I started binge watching all of your videos, and I made a setup very similar to that. And I got into it, and I didn't realize how much I would like them. And it's only been a week, but I found that they're very interesting animals nonetheless.
What do you find unique about them?
Well, for one, obviously they are. I mean, one of I think 2 turtle and tortoise species that have a hinge, if I'm correct. I know what box turtles do. I don't know if there's any more other than hingebacks that do have it. Um, but I like that uniqueness. How their shell it kind of goes from just like flat, and then it goes like straight down, like kind of looks like a brick almost.
Yeah.
Um, and I found that to be just the most interesting thing for me. I'm still trying to get information here and there about the different types there are and everything.
Mhm. Yep.
And I'm just starting with Conyxus homiana right now, which is the Holmes hingeback tortoise. But I've been watching a lot of great people like Tom,
Yeah.
and it's been helping me to prepare with everything. And I got a great enclosure set up right now, which I can show you guys in a bit here if you'd like, and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Cool. What other species are you keeping right now? Turtles, tortoises, and maybe some other things it looks like behind you.
Yeah. So behind me are my crested geckos. Um, I guess with how it started is I was interested in I started really young, like maybe most of us here. I was about 6 years old, and I went to my mom's friend's house with her, and he had Eastern box turtle, which was obviously wild caught, unfortunately. And I remember he had a big snake, and I had immediate interest in the turtle from there, and he actually ended up giving it to me, and that kind of fueled my start with wanting to keep reptiles and all that. And from there it kind of just spread out through the years. I got a lot of books that I just love to look through. When you're that young, you don't really look at the morphology sections or the the scientist portions of it. It's more of just the pictures and like reading little things of how to sex it and stuff. But as that continued, it brought into my college, and I kind of went out for it for a couple of years for the college. And then once I got out of college, I just dove right back into it. Um, so again, I keep a lot of different reptiles. I have a couple crested geckos with full bioactive enclosures that I built myself. I got 7 hognose snakes, red-eye crocodile skink, a bearded dragon, American green tree frog. And then in terms of the turtles and tortoises, I'm more newer to the conservation side of things, which is kind of why I want to help others who are newer to it, get a foot in the door. And what I got is, the rarest thing I got, I guess rare, it would be my pancake tortoises. I got a group of 2.4 now.
Nice.
Um, I have a leopard tortoise, and Dawson actually lent me, Dawson in the chat, he
Yeah,
lent
Dawson's
me,
here.
yeah, great guy. He lent me a female for a breeding project. So within literally hours of them being together, they've already mated. So hopefully we get some eggs from there, and then I can send that female back to him. Eastern Hermans, I got a couple of those. Redfoots, I got my single female Homiana, Central American wood turtle, and tomorrow I'll actually be picking up one of my bucket list animals, which is Testudo hermani, or the Western Hermans, which has
Oh,
been the main thing that I really want to work with here. So I'm in the process of still, building everything up.
uh-huh.
It is a process, but I've been in contact with some great people, and it's helped out a lot. And it's just working out the kinks of what do I want to work with specifically, and how I want to go about doing that.
Yeah. So you're right at the beginning. You're in your kind of feeling out different species, working with a few different things, building some groups, seeing how that's going, and then maybe you'll adjust as you learn.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the being young and newer into this, a thing that I could definitely see, not bad, but it's a tricky part, is when you're doing this immediately, you see a species and it's like, I want this, I want this, I want this. And I've really had to focus on, like, okay, can I sacrifice this to work with this? And seeing the other options that I have. There are other species that need a lot more work than others, um, which I would think, for one, would be hingeback tortoises. I never thought I would get into them, but now that I have them, I really, really enjoy them. Um, as well as, which ones do I want to really focus just in my environment itself on that time? What do I have the space for? So I really had to dwindle down the list, because if Matt was here right now, he would tell you, when I talked with him on the phone for the first time, he was like, I was like, I really want Spangler, the black-breasted leaf turtles,
Yeah.
and he's like, That's the turtle that everybody wants to get into, and I get why. They're very cool, interesting animals,
Yeah.
but we got people working with them, and
Mhm.
if an opportunity comes my way, I'll take it, but they're not my main focus now.
Cool. Let's check out the chat. Kyle has joined us since we welcomed everybody. Podrick says his niece lives just outside Chattanooga, and he's
Hmm.
going to look you up if he gets up that way. He's down in Alabama. Michael
Yeah.
Thakufaswamy says he can get lost in the eyes of hingebacks, especially Rosa. Very nice, Michael. Thank you for sharing that experience with us. And Dawson, you mentioned him. So, Dawson, welcome. Wesley Coleman, he wish he still had his Homiana. And Anthony Pierleone has joined us and says, well said, Sam. And Ralph Till just joined us. So, hey, Ralph. I hope
Big
everything
fan.
is doing well in Florida. So, tell us how you got connected with the turtle community. Did you know there were a bunch of turtle nerds out there?
Yes, I follow a lot of big people. Obviously, Ken and Harkin was one, Garden State Tortoise, all
Yeah.
those YouTube channels I follow. But I've been, over the last 2 years, really incorporated in joining Facebook groups. There's a reptile group for every area of the country where we live. I'm an admin of two of them over in the Chattanooga area.
Okay.
But I really wanted to single it out to, specifically the turtle community, and not just like those Facebook groups that have like the 7,000 members all about like this specific species. I wanted to do like the whole side of all the people who are writing books about this stuff.
Hmm.
They got their own studies they're doing and everything. And then I ended up finding TTBG.
Yeah.
And my first post was, I think, in early springtime. It's probably in March, and literally just said, like, how do I become one of you guys? Like, how do I get involved in this? And everyone was just say, like, contact people. I sent Matt and and Anthony Perloni a million messages and probably have driven him crazy with the amount of questions I've had. But it's just getting incorporated, buying books. I have both of Anthony's books right now, and I'm excited for his third one to come out. Becoming an actual member of TTPG helped out a lot, and what really brought me into it was actually talking with Matt on the phone. And I don't know what the process is, if he's just it's like a low key interrogation to find out what type of person I am or not, but
He just sucks you in.
he does. It's he's very contagious, the way he works, which I love it because I'm kind of in that mindset myself. I really when I look at people, especially in the reptile community, I look at, are these actual good people who genuinely care about animals, or are they just looking to make a quick buck? And I'm not trying to say that selling animals is a bad thing. I think a great example of people who sell animals is Cameron Lamb. I think he does an amazing job. But there are a lot of bad people out there who are just looking, to buy a bunch of wholesale animals and put a price tag on them the next day, not even checking if they're healthy, working with them to seeing, what it takes to take care of them and all these other things. But Matt really brought me into all that, and he also told me the people I should look out for, which obviously I won't mention for sake, but it, it's a fragile process, and it's being respectful of those who have done it a very long time. But it's also, who can I contact for these questions and stuff? Who do I contact if I make mistakes? All the grand scheme of things with all that.
Awesome. So where do you live now? You live in Tennessee?
Yes. So I'm actually originally from Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
I grew up 10 minutes down the road from what I think is the best reptile show in the world. I'm wearing their shirts, the NRBC show in Tinley.
Yeah.
10 minutes, I literally grew up 10 minutes away from that, which I
Wow.
think was a great exposure to have him when I was really young. Um, and then 2020 was when I graduated college, right when everything went loco, and my girlfriend and I ended up staying another year. After that, we moved over to Knoxville, Tennessee, lived there for a year, and last June, so a little over a year now, we've been living in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
How has it been being young in your 20s, but not having that permanent place for your animals and maybe having to move or live in apartments?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because those are probably some of the trickiest things that people get asked when they're buying animals is, do you have a place for this when these situations come? A lot of it was, as much as I hate to say, I ended up did having to give away a bunch of animals. Now, I didn't have a large collection, but I had like 4 or 5 animals,
It's
and
very typical, I think, for young people when they're transitioning.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I hate to say it, if I could go back and wish I knew it myself to rethink that, I would. But I did keep some of my animals with me, and crazy enough, one of the most proud things I can say is I've raised a leopard tortoise from a hatchling to his now breeding size, and he is, in terms of most leopard tortoises, one of the smoothest shells I've ever seen. And I don't agree with fully raising things indoors. I'm an advocate for raising outdoors, but I was able to raise them with a really great looking shell, fully indoors, and that's something I'm pretty proud of. But in terms of moving around, like when you're in college, you move around every year to a different place. I had
Yeah.
to pick up stuff and move across the street, or move down the road. And then once we left college and moved to Tennessee, we had an 8-hour drive that I had to bring all those animals with me. So it's tricky, but everything got around safe and everything was good. So I'm just thankful for that. The animals were all in good health. So that's been the main storefront with that, is keeping that all going.
Awesome. Are you able to keep any animals outside?
We actually just bought a house
Oh,
back
congratulations.
in, yeah, May. So it's been crazy. We have a pretty good sized backyard, but it is currently not in a state where we could put animals out there right now, especially with the winter coming. In the South in Tennessee, it gets cool in winter, but You can probably keep some Herman's tortoises out there just because it's very similar to what they have back in their native range. But some of my other animals, like my pancakes, my leopards, I wouldn't put out there during the winter. My plan is, uh, hopefully by next spring, I've been talking to a man who lives close to me named David, and he's also a member. I don't know if he's a member of TTPG itself, but he's in the group. He's a great guy. Gifted me a male Herman's tortoise, and he does like stuff similar to aquascape. He builds beautiful ponds and stuff outside people's houses, and I want to try working with him a little bit to start learning myself, and hopefully, at some point I could start building some outdoor enclosures. For sure, next summer I will at least, if even if it's just like a hide and some cinder blocks and water, I'll do that so I can have my animals out day and then bring them in at night. But I would eventually like a full, protected area to keep most of my animals outdoors.
Cool. What's the climate down there like?
Humid.
Yeah.
It's very very humid here. The winters are a lot better than Illinois because
Yeah.
I always make this joke, but if we see snow on the forecast in Tennessee, the whole city shuts down,
Mm.
which is insane. It doesn't snow. We get probably 2 to 3 snows a year. There will be a period, maybe some days it gets really cold, but it's nothing compared to like where I'm from. Back where I'm from, in 2011, I was in like fifth or sixth grade, and it took a snowstorm that killed like 40 people for them to even cancel school. And here it's
Yeah,
on the
I think I remember
forecast.
that.
Yeah, there was the 2011 Chicago snowstorm, and like there was videos of snow up to like halfway people's cars. And here, it's snow on the forecast, and it's like, okay, everything's closed, everyone take off work. So, I like the hot weather a lot. Just being from the north, I'm a big advocate of 100-degree weather. It is, but we get a couple of cold days in the winter here, but it's nothing that's terrible compared to what I'm used to.
Cool. And native species. Have you researched Tennessee's laws on keeping natives?
Yes, unfortunate. I'm gonna say unfortunately because the main wildlife agency that operates around here is the TWRA, which is the Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, and I actually applied to become a wildlife manager there.
Mhm.
But and it's funny that you say that because I actually had a lady in Cleveland message me today saying they found a box turtle that got bit by a dog and the injuries are very minor, but are you able to take it in? I was like, nope. Contact TWRA and they'll find you the right source to get to. You can hold native species here, but it is a process with getting the permits and everything. And that's just not something I want to necessarily do because if anything, if I were to keep any native species, it would be eastern box turtles, which are the main prevalent one
Gross.
that we have here. Gopher tortoises do come up here. They don't necessarily come up here. They've been found in Chickamauga, which is about 30 minutes
Hmm.
south of here, which is really
Civil War
interesting.
site.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's Chickamauga is something else. Um, so
Gopher
about where to,
tortoises that far north.
yeah, yeah. Gopher tortoises. They are in Georgia, more south, but there was a guy who found one over in Chickamauga, and that was a very rare case. So it's not often. I don't think we've ever had contact with them in the Chattanooga area, but in terms of keeping native species, native to Tennessee, probably not, but eventually I would like to get into North American wood turtles as well as spotted turtles. Those are probably my two I would really like to get into, but I'm trying to hold off on aquatics for now because I know everyone, and Matt says this. He says it's really easy once you get it down, and it's just like I don't think I'm necessarily ready for full aquatics yet, and I kind of want to hold off on that for the time being until I feel comfortable enough with that.
Yeah. Aquatics are a whole other thing. I have one aquatic turtle and it's nice. I'd love to have more, but then I just look at the tank and think,
Yeah,
it's enough.
yeah. It's I mean the water change, and I know once everyone says the parameters and all that, they're worth it's a piece of cake once you got it down. But I spend an hour at least a day cleaning water dishes, feeding my animals. I gotta feed my crested geckos, I gotta spray their tanks, plus I got my dog and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So It's really time consuming, which obviously everybody who keeps animals like this, we all know it takes time for all that.
Absolutely. Let's go to the chat. Dan from Dan's Turtle Room has joined us, and Rum Weather Reptiles has popped in, and so has McZoo Exotic Pets. That's Sean McNeely. Sean does his own YouTube show, 8 o'clock on Wednesdays,
Oh,
called The Reptile Show Reporter. So if you haven't seen Sean's show, you can watch Sean's show Wednesday at 8 and my show at Matthew Thursday at 8. So, um, Michael, our friend from Chico, California asks, do you have any interest in getting into rehabilitation work?
the easy answer would be no.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
much as it can be a good thing, I know, just from Matt talking about his animals, he gets so many animals all the time, and it seems like a really, daunting task to fully get into that. If someone, it, it's hard to say. If it was for, if I had the supplies and all the aspects that I would need to do it, sure, but probably for the time being, I'm more open to, you know giving people the information. Here's TWA's direct contact line for an injured animal to pick out where you need to go for that. um I don't really like the idea of me keeping all that stuff now. Maybe once we get that fully worked on, possibly, but as of right now, I'd say probably no.
Look at this. Matthew says he's on his way to the hotel. So we want to see sunshine, flowers, lots of Jackson's chameleons, Matthew.
A
And
pina colada.
yeah. Anthony says, in regards to aquatic turtles, just one aquatic turtle, like 1,000
Yeah, right.
is more like. But no, that's not real. Um, Matthew says, emotionally, more than others, it's hard to take the rehabilitation stuff. When folks drop off a turtle, it's normally on the brink of death. So, and
Yeah.
that is hard. I mean, in working with hingebacks, man, I mean, they're
Oh,
always sick.
yeah.
But Matthew, I think,
Yeah.
got you a pretty healthy one.
Yeah, the one I have is great. You could tell. I mean, you could tell she was definitely an import. She's been through it, but she's
Yeah.
doing great. I was really nervous when I first got her, and because I'm so used to my animals having such a high feeding response, like you put food in, they're diving right into it. And
Yeah.
I was like, even though she just got shipped here, it's been like 3 days and she didn't eat. And I was like, dude, I'm actually terrified. Like, what's going on? And then that literally, I think it was that same night I saw her eating on some Missouri tortoise diet. So it's been all really good then.
Yeah.
But getting animals that are on the brink of death. There is a really good reptile rescue that I'm actually fond of called Be Wild Reptile Rescue over in North Carolina, and they have some animals that were literally, you wouldn't think they were alive, and they do a great job of working with them and putting weight on them, making sure they're all cleaned up and everything. And it's receiving some animals. I've had a friend give me a redfoot tortoise that they couldn't take care of anymore, and her shell was literally like mutilated from how pyramided it was. So, and you got to think like, I got to quarantine this animal. Am I able to get a spot away from it and
Yeah.
make sure it's getting everything it need before, if I decide to introduce it to the main group? There's just too many factors in it right now. I don't have the biggest basement either, so
Yeah.
um,
At least you have a basement.
yeah, yeah, I am thankful for that. There's
So,
not a lot of basements in Tennessee and Georgia. We have
really.
really there's a lot of clay in our soil here.
Oh,
So there's not a lot of basements here. Ours isn't underground, I guess, so that's probably why I have it. But there's no, like, barely any underground basements in this
now
area.
that's funny because this is going to be a tangent, but the Cleveland Browns owner is Jimmy Haslam from Tennessee, and him and his wife remarked when they moved to Cleveland how awesome everyone's basements were in Ohio. So they they obviously don't have they didn't have a big basement. So
Yeah.
hey, I think the base for East Coast Midwesterners, the basement is the secret to being able
It
to
is.
keep often a large collection of turtles and tortoises. And that is the advance. We may not have the warm We may not have the sunshine, we may have snow, and the ground may freeze most of the winter, but we have basements, and that's our secret weapon.
That is true. You know, you can't go wrong with the basement. You know, if you have a spouse and they're really adamant about not having animals in one of the bedrooms, you can convince them hopefully to let them keep it all in the basement. So it works out.
Yeah. So, Scenic City Bioactive and Reptile says they know a good rescue in Chattanooga if it's okay to recommend. Yeah, definitely share it with us in the
Yeah,
chat. Um, Phil says that Anthony's nose is growing. I think that happens as we age. And basement, garage, kids' room, wife's office. You put them where you need, says Matthew.
true.
So,
We
are
have
you
one
like,
reptile in the
yeah?
main. We have one reptile in our living room, and everything else is downstairs.
How do you strike that balance at home?
Crazy enough, okay, it's gonna sound crazy, but my girlfriend has been amazing with it. Originally, when we got this house, we were gonna put all my reptiles in one of our rooms, and I ultimately, I said they're not all gonna fit in here. I have too many. Like, I have huge rack systems. I have
Yeah,
big PVC cages, and even with that, she's like, okay, well, we'll make this my plant room and my art room, and you can just
nice,
take the basement. So I got lucky on that aspect,
nice.
but she's been great with it. She's been very supportive of me. I don't make her do anything. I don't ever will. This is all my responsibility. She does occasionally like to come down and feed the animals or spray them with some water and stuff and feed our bearded dragon and all that, which is awesome. It's good to see her getting involved in it. But um, I take the load of the responsibility, and that's not something I'm ever gonna put on her.
Sure. And I'll give Anthony's new Facebook group a shout out. Anthony, if you could put the official name of your Facebook group, but it's like Turtley Devoted
Yep.
Reptile
They have a
Relationships
podcast. They have a
and
podcast as
and
well.
and a
It's a good
podcast too,
podcast.
but there's this new Facebook group where you can discuss these things. And there've been some great poll questions. Dan is saying that his wife, he could not get away with Turtle and his wife. um uh oh, that's right. Anthony says this is not a lie this time. I have zero turtles in my house thanks to basements and greenhouses. So I think that's a little, kind of a stretch to say your basement is not your house, but maybe technically your house sits on top of the basement. That's kind of crazy. But
What's crazy
well,
enough is I do have my garage is it's like our garage isn't a wide garage, it's a long garage. And if we didn't have the basement like stopped where it was, we could extend it out. But I get worried about the cold in there. We'd have to insulate it or keep space heaters in order to keep things in there 24/7. But our garage does have a lot of room, which is nice.
Anthony says turtly devoted reptile people relationship dynamics. He thinks that's it.
Can only wonder.
That's hilarious. Sam, would you like to show us around your reptile room? Show us a few of your animals?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me see if I can. Well, I'll just hold it this way. So behind me, I don't know if the glare is gonna be too crazy or
We can
not,
see.
but
Yeah,
okay. I got a couple of my crested geckos. These actually were all gifted. You probably can't. She's hiding somewhere, but all my crested geckos were actually gifted to me, and I decided I want to just build some bioactive stuff in it. You won't be able to see any of them. Actually, you can see one up here. So this guy actually has metabolic bone disease and was gifted to me from a friend back in Knoxville. And I was like, yeah, I'll take it. Why not? Um,
cool.
there's another one. You can actually see one of my younger crested geckos. He's peeking his way in the corner. I don't know if you guys can see that.
If you could put your phone horizontal, it'll show horizontally across the whole. Uh, yeah, it's doing vertical for some
Ah, whatever.
reason.
Try it
Let
next
me.
time.
I'm gonna switch it back here to the. Yep, that
Okay.
works. Yep.
So this is my newest addition. Let me grab a glove. I'm really weird about wearing gloves with my reptiles for some
That's
reason.
good.
I know a lot of people do it because for other things. I just like to do it because I work with pesticides all day, and it's not. I'm scared that I'm gonna, you know, get them afflicted with pesticides. It's just I'm just so used to it that
Mm.
I just have to do it.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
this is my setup. It's the same setup. If you guys watch Tom's channel, it's the
Yeah.
same setup that he posted
The
on
tough
there. I made
stuff
a yeah.
tub.
I made a few different changes. I added a drainage layer into mine so I can make it
Nice.
bioactive.
I did have
Um,
one, but I ripped it. I
yeah.
for that video, I was ripping out the drainage layer because I didn't put a filter. Did you put a screen layer on
Yeah,
top of the?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I put window screen to separate. I put lava rock in it
yeah,
to separate
yeah,
it out, and then I put window screen to change it up
yeah,
through there, so there's no substrate falling through.
yeah.
I added a pothos plant as well as a
Nice.
fern.
Yeah,
In terms of my UVB, I took this piece of wood that I got from Home Depot and I put in the Arcadia T5
perfect.
forest dweller.
Yeah.
And Matt had told me keep it dark for the most part because they're
Yep.
not fond of too much light. So got my ceramic heat emitter
Yep.
here, and
Give them a
then
choice.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
is what we do.
and then this is the let me flip her around. This is the animal that Matt gifted me. She's
Nice.
got really big eyes. I don't know if that's Is that common in the Canicus?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They have giant eyes.
Yeah, but you can definitely see she's got some wear and tear on her shell just from
Mhm,
you
mhm,
know
mhm.
what she's been subjected to and everything. But she's doing great now, and I'm really happy to be able to work with something I never thought I'd want to work with.
Cool. I love the 110 tubs
Oh,
for
it's
people that
perfect.
have a couple tortoises. They don't need to stack the tubs. I love the nice deep substrate. The turtle can bury down into that substrate. You can have a false bottom, and it's a good size. You can grow plants in there and create a little jungle. So that's why I like
Yeah.
those.
I love the bioactive side of things, and I'm actually going to be sending Matt some isopods I think next week. Uh,
Cool.
but I have about like I think 26 species of isopods, and they are the best thing you could
Wow.
get into.
26
You
species.
What was that?
26 species.
Yes, I mean there's people out there who have
I
hundreds of
know.
them.
100,
But
yeah.
I don't go out of my way to buy anymore. I'll do some trades and stuff, but they do wonders. It's instead of cleaning all my tortoises poop and stuff, I just gotta change the
Yeah,
water bowls. So isopods eat
that's
all the
awesome.
fecal matter. So it's game changing for sure. Really really helpful to have them in there. And springtails as well, because if there's any mold accumulation, they help out a lot with that. And there's all different types of isopods too. You got some that are worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars, like the rubber duckies, and then you got some that are worth like $20, and you can put them everywhere.
Yeah, I was listening to some guy talking at the couple reptile shows ago, and he had like thousands and thousands of isopods, and he lost
Yeah.
them all because of like a spike in temperature or something like that.
Huh, that's crazy. I haven't had any crashes in my colonies. Something that you do have to keep in mind when keeping them is you should change out the substrate at some point because I think it's ammonia build. I'm not
Mm,
sure what it is, but it's keeping them in without changing out that substrate will actually cause the colony to crash. I haven't had that happen to me, thankfully, but it is a very real thing. But I don't keep them on any heaters or anything. I have them over on a shelf right down there, and I get them once a week. Every Sunday, I spray them one half of the side, and I give them some fish flakes, and that's it. That's all I got to do. Very easy to take care of.
mm. I have some millipedes, so that's
Oh,
my start with inverts. They're a genus from Africa, and they're like a species that doesn't even have a name. It's just called like this genus number one. It's
that's
ridiculous.
insane. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's crazy. You mentioned a turtle group that I've always been intrigued, but I've never kept, and that's the rhinoclemmies. Have you kept those often? The
No,
Central
I have
American wood turtles?
Yeah, I have one. Um, I got it at NARBC,
Uh huh.
and I like the idea of working with the wood turtles because I really want to get into North American wood turtles at some point. But I just have one, and I think it's a she. I haven't properly sexed her yet. She's not big enough, but she's very aggressive. I will come up with like a roach, or I'll just open the door and she comes flying out, like snapping everywhere, like a maniac. But that's the only one I've had. But she's doing great. I got her a nice humid habitat, nice area for her to soak in with water, and they're protein hungry. So I also breed my own dubia roaches as well as red wigglers now, just so I can have some other sources of protein that I can give my animals. The isopods can make a good source of protein as well, which is nice. So I got, situated with most of the food sources here and there.
Cool. I'm just catching up with the chat. I was behind. So Anthony has some comments about the tub. He wishes they were square without the tapered sides. Yes. So the more substrate you put in them, the more surface area you get.
Yeah.
So my substrate is pretty deep. Um,
Yeah.
Wesley Coleman says he did have 23 species, but he got out of the collector stuff. So focus, and that's what we talked with Russ Gurley last week. Um, it's okay to have a good collection of reptiles and
Yeah.
see what you want to work with, and
Huh.
that is good stuff to learn. And then just get those animals that maybe aren't for you in the right people's hands, and the TTPG program is a good way to do that.
Yes. And, this is something. So to kind of go off on a tangent here, I really envy Matt. He is a great guy because I'm gonna bring it back to I forgot what the it's not podcast, but it's another live that you do with Anthony and a couple other people. I think Mike is in it as well. And it's on a Facebook group. And I remember the last one you guys did was about a month ago, and I remember Anthony specifically saying, when it comes to working with something like I'm gonna butcher it, but it was something along these lines of, when it comes to working with these animals, we want to go to the people who are professional with it. And I'll say right now, with me, I'm 25. I'm young. I'm young still, but I do not put myself off as a professional person, and I'm happy for that because I believe that people need to be called out. And obviously, I'm not going to do that here or anything, but I like what Matt does is he will call people out, the bad people in the industry, which I think is a very important thing to do because there are people in this not hobby lifestyle that only see it for the money signs. And again, like I said before, it's okay to sell animals. I sell animals, but if you're only in it for the sake of making money, then I don't believe you should be in it. And I'm one of those people who I will get aggressive and call people out. And it may not be professional in a lot of people's eyes, but I think it's necessary because if you're just I know I'm beating a dead horse, but dealing with these animals it's a commitment. You put so much time and effort and care into them, and just giving away, just getting some money off of them, it's not good. It's the animal should be the main focus, and your business should be second in my eyes with this.
Yeah. And I think that's what is really great about turtles. There are some aspects of turtle breeding, and there are plenty of big time turtle breeders out there that aren't making it their business, but they are for the turtles. And
Ex-
that's what we like to say here, and that's what's important. Everything we do should be for the turtles. If we can
Yeah,
also make it our life, that's okay. But we need to be for the turtles. Uh,
yeah.
DJ Mac says, any thoughts on groups of tortoises? He has a trio of Greeks that he's raising, and they are fun. So, have you kept tortoises in groups ever?
Just the same species. I know there are people out there who will cohabitate species that are different but have similar prospects to them. But I just keep my groups together. Like my pancakes are all together, but they're all similar size. My group of Hermans are all together. I got three Redfoots together.
Mhm.
Um, But other than that, I don't really cohabitate things that much unless they're the same species and they're there's no bullying that I can see actively going on,
Mhm.
or there's size differences in those
Yeah.
aspects. But
Yeah.
um I know there's a lot of purity issues with some species, like for example, the Western hermits. There's all these different locales, and they're having issues with the Western hermits breeding not only with the different localities, but with the Eastern hermits as well. So you're getting all these mixed breeds, which are in the wild diminishing itself to them. So it's I think it's important to keep certain pure bloodlines in those aspects.
Yeah. Sebastian says he missed the live. No, you didn't, Sebastian. We are live. You are here. And Michael says he can't. He says I cannot recall if you started a worm tub with African night crawlers.
I ended up going with red wigglers. Um, So I got those right over there, but I have two. Matt sent me a great video on how to keep them going. I think once summer hits around, I want to do black soldier fly larva as well.
Mm,
But I want to do the African wigglers. I just want to make sure I got the red wigglers or the red African night crawlers down. But I want to make sure I got the red wigglers down first.
cool.
So in time I will, but right now just the the red ones.
Michael, are you doing the Africans? Because they fascinate me. I mean, they must be the nightcrawler that Connexus are eating in West Africa. So I would like to try those sometime.
Yeah, I actually when I put my enclosure together for the Homiana that Matt gave me, I put some the worms in there as well, just to keep the soil going and not composting, but turning over itself and
Yeah,
making it as natural as I can.
yeah, for sure. Um, I'm just reading what Patrick says. He's been building new brumation hides for all his tortoises outside the last 2 days. He's a busy dude. All three of them he's insulating with styrofoam and sandwich between the layers. He's down in Alabama,
Yeah.
and Michael just placed an order on those African night crawlers. So
Yeah,
there
they're
was
fun.
actually a guy in Newark, Ohio, who raised them, and I was going to go out and get some from him, but he only shipped like I don't know once a month or something like that. So
Oh wow.
I never ordered them. So
Yeah.
Michael, if
I
you have a good source, put them in the chat. Put that source in the chat.
Yeah. Oh, I just saw a comment from Dawson that said
Yeah, yeah,
thoughts on tortoise mentorship between older and newer keepers, and this is actually
cool.
something I really wanted to bring to light.
Yeah,
So, I'm 25. I'm not young, but I'm in the newer side of trying to work with conservation. And when you become a TTPG member, you put a list of all the animals you'd like to work with. And obviously what we said you guys have said in past on a previous live is, put every species because if you want to work with every species, we'll see what we got available. But something that I wanted to advocate for the newer people to this, such as
that's just
myself, is
Matthew that says that. By the way,
uh,
put every
put
species.
every species on there. He's got one of everything. He can send you plenty of regular sliders. um,
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
no, no. Oh, okay. But so something I was really trying to focus on is when you're newer, such as I am, it starts with you got to get in connection with the right people. I think an interview process is very important, kind of what I think Matt did with me is, seeing the mindset that you're in, seeing the type of person you are when it comes to these animals. But when you're newer to this, and let's say you're jumping in with no animals, or you've kept only a few animals like I have, and you don't have a lot of experience, branching out to those people who have that experience, who have written books on it, who have videos on it, who write blogs on it, I think is incredibly important. But this is gonna be the part that's tricky is, you got these new guys who haven't worked with the species before. Like, for example, me, I've never worked with black-breasted leaf turtle before. I've done my research on them. I read Anthony's book like twice over this point. I try to learn as much as I can, but in a conservation standpoint, if one of the guys in TTPG were to send me one, we're not really doing anything right now for conservation of it because I don't have any. And I can see where that can also be tricky because, how am I going to get exposed to that if I don't buy a $6,000 animal that someone's putting on Morph Market? So that's the tricky part, I think, with this whole side of conservation for the newer guys, is because how do we get this exposure other than, if you have a zoo or work or know somebody close by that can allow you to work with these animals in a way that gets you prepared for them to be sent to you.
Yeah.
Um, it's a tricky topic. It's something I haven't completely gotten into because, I'm a big advocate of, a guy who's brand new to this and proves to me that he's worthy of doing something. I'd love to send him a pancake tortoise, but pancake tortoises are never going to go extinct. There's so many people breeding them in captivity. But if it were something like Spangleri, am I benefiting the species by sending it to this kid who's never worked with them before, who doesn't know that much about them hands on? Or is it better to send it to somebody who, has been working with them, needs more diversity in their bloodline and their genetics? It's going to benefit, the guy who's been doing it longer. So
Mhm.
it's a tricky topic to get into because, what do we do in that situation, in my
Sure.
mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just really important to send your animals to someone who's willing to learn.
Yeah.
Um, Even if it's just one animal, you can learn a lot about that animal. And if you just have one animal, you can spend a lot of time learning about that one animal. You're not focusing on breeding. That's just the goal. Is to learn about it, see if you like it, and so there is some value in that too.
Yeah.
When you're getting started,
I agree. And if you guys are all just like me, which I'm sure everyone here is, we walk into our animal rooms and we just sit there and watch them. Just watching their head movements, watching them interact with the way they drink water, the way they eat food. It's all just really intriguing and it's very addictive to watch. Homiana. I've never worked with Homiana or any of the Connexus. All I've heard was bad stuff about them. But as I've watched this animal over the last week, it's just the week. It's really intriguing to me just to see, the behavioral aspects of them. Every animal is different too, and they all have their different personalities. So it makes it, if people are willing and they prove. This is another thing with, Matt told me, okay, we're going to send you this, and here I am, I'm learning as much as I can in a very short amount of time. I'm getting this animal in 3 days and I got to set up all this on a fly. It's, who else is going to do that? Are you going to offer an animal to a brand new guy into this, and are they going to spend all that money to get that set up the way it should be for that animal? So I think that's another
yeah,
important thing to consider. It's all that.
absolutely. And are they gonna pay for veterinary care? Do they have the
Yeah.
resources to pay for veterinary care? So,
Yeah, your animals are
Anthony,
going to get sick.
yes, yeah, and it is normal to get sick. It sucks when it happens, and you can go listen to the Let's Talk Turtles podcast. That's the third plug of the year. I talked about my sick box turtle Mango quite a bit on that. But Anthony says it's totally normal to feel that way, and talking about being a younger person trying to get established in
Yeah.
this world of turtle and tortoise preservation. He says, I remember wishing anyone would trust me with the rare species. I remember feeling like I'd never get that shot. And it wasn't that long ago. So
Yeah.
it happens quick.
It really does. And I'm a perfect example of that because I just became a member in June and I've had probably three animals sent to me. And it's what a lot of guys who also told me, it's, proving that you're successful with the animals you have right now. Are they producing? If they're not having them to breed, are, they growing smoothly? Are they active? All these other aspects that go into it, and showing that, and also showing the mistakes you made, as long as it's not something like, completely stupid, like, I let my turtle outside and decided to ride my bike around. But we're all gonna make mistakes. Every keeper has made mistakes. um, the important thing is learning from those mistakes and how to prevent it in the future.
Absolutely. Well, I just sent Matthew a message to see how close he is, and he did not answer. So, Matthew, our time is almost coming to an end, and we really, really, really want to see Hawaii. So click on that link, Matthew. Click on that link. Use your data on your phone. Join us. We want we want to see what's in Hawaii. Okay, we got some more questions from oh, here he comes. Here he is. Boom! Look
Oh
at
wow, look
that.
at that beard.
Woo!
We haven't even gotten our room yet, but I decided I'd cross the street so that
That's so cool. Oh man, look at the beach. Are you
Wow.
at Waikiki?
yeah. So the Duke is just right down that way. The big statue of
Cool.
the Duke. Our hotel is right there. We just walk up, get our McDonald's, cross the street. All right.
That's so awesome.
It's a lovely place. We stay
Are
in the
you?
same spot every time we come.
Did you bring the kids?
Yeah, oh yeah, they're getting a room.
That's so cool. Do you
It's
have
been a lot of
anything
fun.
for Sam?
No, I appreciate all the kind words, but I mean, you've shown yourself in the community. I mean, you've been involved. You know, shown that you've got a passion for it. You've got that drive. That it's not just a hobby to you. That's why it's easy for me to send you an animal and trust that you're going to do right by it before the
I
turtles.
I appreciate it. I think the proving point is once you get a turtle tattoo, I don't know if you can see it.
Awesome.
Once you have the turtle tattoos is, when you have officially gotten
I
yourself in
love it. I
it.
love it.
Let me get a
That's
Sharpie.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get a hand tattoo while we're here.
Oh God.
Oh, and that's the fun of Hawaii. It's just always some crazies.
Yeah.
Guy yelling at the trash can.
You- just start yelling for the turtles everywhere, and
Yeah.
I was gonna see if I can switch the camera around. Yeah, for the turtles. We do get to go.
oh,
So what's nice is the Honolulu Zoo is we literally walk right down probably the main boulevard here, and the Honolulu Zoo's a mile down the road. We walk there. I guess go see some
that's so
plowshares.
cool.
Yeah.
Plowshare
I
tortoises.
can't wait.
Reminds me of my spring break, my last 2 years at college over in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
How long are you there, Matthew?
11 days.
Oh, so you're gonna be there next week too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'll be able to schedule it. I've got my computer and everything, so.
So here's the deal. I'm going to be in Pensacola, Florida, a week from tonight. So
Hmm.
we'll figure it out. It'll probably
Yeah.
just be Matthew and I just chatting. But
Yeah.
we'll have fun and we'll hear about Florida. Florida, Hawaii. I have seen this spot where like green turtles swim
Mhm.
up on what is that?
So that's actually, they call it Turtle Beach. We went to it last time we were here. It's awesome. They've got monitors, volunteers that come and they stand guard to make sure nobody's messing with the turtles.
What
But
species of
all of,
monitors?
oh, astute
Oh, you
monitor.
mean people. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Um,
For a second, I thought I thought you were gonna say there's feral Nile monitors there or something.
oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you can't
Slinky.
harass the sea
Slinky's got a bunch.
turtles.
Exactly. And they literally come right up onto the rocks
That's
and eat
weird.
the algae right off the rocks, and you can go right up to them.
They're eating.
Yeah. They come
Oh,
up and eat all the green
that's
moss off the
crazy.
rocks. And
That's cool.
I mean, they're not the fastest animal in that shallow of water chewing moss off rocks. So you can get really close. They don't care. But
Nice.
the human monitors, they do care.
Oh,
So,
that's awesome.
and make
As
sure
they
you don't get
should.
too close. Yeah. My wife and I got married on a beach just east of here. And the day that the morning that we got married, right after the ceremony, Hawksbill came right up onto the beach.
Wow.
Crazy.
That's awesome.
Turtle lover's dream.
Oh yeah.
Well, guys, my eyes are about to give out. They're too
Hey, me
dry.
too. I didn't sleep last night. I was
And
still getting all
and
my turtles ready.
and so they're gonna start watering massively. Sam, last words.
Last words. If you guys are flippers, don't flip, or I'll flip you.
For the turtles.
For the
For the
turtles.
turtles.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Matthew, thanks for coming in at
Yeah,
the
I'm
end. And
glad.
Sam, it's been our pleasure talking to
Yeah.
you and getting to learn about you and your work a little better. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me on.
We'll
Thanks,
see you
Sam.
next week, everyone.
See
Bye
ya.
bye.
For the turtles.
For the